The journey of human knowledge is a unique path for each of us. Imagine a trail winding through a vast landscape. For some, it's a straight, well-lit road. For others, a winding path full of twists and turns. This metaphor helps us understand why, throughout life, some concepts appear clear to us while others remain hazy or even invisible. Think about how, walking on this path, we encounter signs, crossroads, and vistas. Some immediately catch our attention, others go unnoticed. It's not a matter of intelligence or attention, but rather the precise point where we are in our personal journey. It's as if each of us had a unique map, with points of interest lighting up only when we're ready to understand them. This premise is fundamental when we approach profound topics such as those discussed in this channel, near-death experiences, or NDEs. These are subjects that touch the boundaries of our understanding and often challenge our deepest beliefs. Imagine trying to explain the concept of salty to someone who has never tasted salt. You could describe its chemical composition, appearance, even the history of its use, but capturing the essence of that flavor would remain a difficult, if not impossible, task. Similarly, discussing NDEs with someone who isn't ready, or has never had an out-of-body experience, can be futile or confusing. Sooner or later, however, each of us faces the quintessential existential question: what happens after death? Does our consciousness extinguish or continue in some form? These are questions that have tormented philosophers, scientists, and ordinary people through the millennia, and even today we don't have definitive answers. In my research journey, I chose to prioritize sources that could offer an approach as objective and verifiable as possible. Among these, the studies of American physician, psychologist, and parapsychologist Raymond A. Moody, Jr. stand out. His 1975 book, Life After Life, sold 20 million copies worldwide. Before him, only Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, also unrelated to the spiritualist tradition, had addressed such issues, systematically collecting and analyzing testimonies. Moody's studies, abandoning the spiritualist approach of the late 19th and early 20th centuries in favor of a systematic examination of NDE testimonies, sparked the interest of other scholars. These have analyzed the phenomenon, confirming the testimonies he collected or advancing different hypotheses. Another pioneering doctor in this field is Pim van Lommel, a Dutch cardiologist and researcher. Starting in 1986, for over 20 years, he studied NDEs in patients who survived cardiac arrest. In 2001, along with his collaborators, he published a study on NDEs in the prestigious medical journal The Lancet, followed by the publication of several books. Equally important is the work of Enrico Facco, a specialist in neurology and professor of anesthesiology and resuscitation at the University of Padua, for collecting and analyzing testimonies of patients who have experienced near-death experiences. What makes his work particularly valuable is the scientific rigor with which he approaches the issue. The patients he talks about are not simply people who have had sensations or visions in moments of stress. They are individuals whose state of clinical death has been certified by sophisticated medical equipment, flat electrocardiograms, absence of detectable brain activity. Yet, upon awakening, these patients recount vivid experiences, rich in details that challenge our understanding of consciousness. Some describe having observed the operating room from above, reporting details about medical procedures or conversations they couldn't have heard. Others narrate having visited distant places, accurately describing events that were happening miles away, such as family members in waiting rooms or people still unaware of their critical condition. Another significant contribution in this field comes from surgeon Davide Vaccarin, who dedicated his thesis to NDEs. Initially approached with a detached and aseptic tone, already at the first interview Vaccarin understood he was facing an important phenomenon that deeply marked the lives of the people interviewed. Among the most surprising cases are those involving people born blind or deaf. Imagine the wonder of someone who has never seen a color or heard a sound and suddenly finds themselves immersed in a world of vivid images or crystalline melodies. An emblematic case is that of a woman blind from birth, who during her NDEs saw a pair of red shoes that had fallen from a hospital window and become trapped between two floors. Such a specific and seemingly insignificant detail that, once verified, left doctors and researchers speechless. Moving from the medical field to the military, the fascinating Gateway Project emerges. This program, born in the context of the Cold War, represents one of the most ambitious attempts to explore the boundaries of human consciousness. The declassified CIA documents, made accessible thanks to the meticulous translation work of Omega Click, reveal a world of research that seems to have come out of a science fiction novel. The Gateway Project focused on training psychic spies, individuals apparently able to access information at a distance, overcoming physical and temporal barriers. The reports speak of surprising successes, locating secret weapons beyond the Iron Curtain, finding missing persons, even discovering a Russian plane that had crashed in the African jungle. These results suggest the existence of a sort of universal information field, a source of knowledge accessible through altered states of consciousness. It's important to emphasize that this research was not the result of New Age speculations, but projects funded with millions of dollars, involving institutions of the caliber of NASA, the CIA, and Stanford University. The fact that high-level governments and scientific organizations have invested time and resources in these studies should make us reflect on the possibility that there is much more to discover about the nature of consciousness and reality than we currently understand. In this panorama of research on consciousness and its limits, it's impossible not to mention the extraordinary contribution of Italian engineer Federico Fagin. Son of a philosopher, Fagin has lived a life at the forefront of technological innovation in Silicon Valley, leaving an indelible mark on the history of modern computing. Fagin is not only a witness but also a protagonist of some of the most important technological revolutions of our time. He was among the pioneers in the development of microprocessors, invented the famous Z80, a microprocessor that marked an era, and founded Synaptics, the company that created the touchpads now present in virtually every laptop computer. But what makes Fagin a truly unique figure is his intellectual evolution. In the last 40 years, this brilliant engineer has dedicated his life to a deep and personal research, understanding where consciousness resides and how it is managed. His journey, which goes from computer hardware to the most advanced frontiers of human awareness, represents a fascinating bridge between the world of technology and that of spirituality. Fagin's approach to the question of consciousness is particularly interesting because it combines the analytical precision of the engineer with the open-mindedness of the philosopher. His research fits perfectly into the context of NDEs and consciousness studies, offering a unique perspective that unites science and spirituality. Fagin's work reminds us that even the brightest minds in the field of technology recognize that there is much more to discover about the nature of consciousness and human experience. His personal research underscores how important it is to maintain an open and curious mind, ready to explore territories that go beyond the boundaries of conventional science. Personally, I began to take an interest in the spiritual side from adolescence, seeking confirmations and information from the scientific world. The confirmation that salt exists and is salty came to me in an episode of OB, out-of-body experience. This is a phenomenon where, during sleep, consciousness leaves the physical body with the consistency of a cloud as large as a balloon, able to move away, observe, and listen to the surrounding world. Mine was a spontaneous OB, which occurred during a forced night break. Deep sleep was looming while I was driving my car, forcing me to stop in a rest area. I remember leaving my body, being dragged like a balloon on a calm evening, crossing 4 empty road lanes and finding myself about 3 meters above the ground and about 100 meters from my car, in the middle of the moonlit countryside. I remember a truck approaching on the lane next to the rest area where my physical body was sleeping. I felt the fear of dying, because in a few moments the truck would have been between me and my body. In a microsecond I found myself back in my body, waking up with a start and watching the white-bodied truck proceed on its way. After this experience, I became increasingly interested in the subject, looking for common elements from different sources. Wanting to disseminate this knowledge, I decided to create this channel with the aim of making these extraordinary stories accessible, drawing in particular from the rich archive of NDEs.org. Transforming these accounts into audio and video format is not just an exercise in dissemination, but an invitation to personal exploration. Each story is a window into possibilities that challenge our common sense of reality, an opportunity to expand the boundaries of our understanding. In conclusion, whether or not one believes in the reality of NDEs and related phenomena, the importance of these studies lies in their potential to broaden our vision of the world and ourselves. They invite us to consider that perhaps, just like the blind person who cannot understand color until they experience it, there are aspects of existence that escape our daily perception, waiting to be discovered. I therefore invite you to explore these stories with an open mind, ready to question your beliefs and perhaps, to discover new horizons of understanding. Because, in the end, this is the heart of research and personal growth. The willingness to consider that there is always something new to learn, something that could radically change our perception of life, death, and everything in between.
If you enjoyed this video or you're interested in the topics we cover on this channel, I'd be really grateful if you could subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future content. Share the video with someone you think might appreciate it. Thank you so much for your support. Preface. Near-death experiences, NDEs, can be profound, life-changing events. Remember, NDEs are subjective experiences, not proof of an afterlife or a guide for living. Channel purpose. This channel shares NDE stories and information, providing a platform for open discussion without promoting specific beliefs. Disclaimer. This content doesn't replace professional medical or psychological advice. If struggling with mental health issues, seek professional help immediately. If you've had an NDE and need support, consult a therapist experienced with NDEs. We don't promote suicide or self-harm. If considering suicide, contact a prevention lifeline immediately. Suicide prevention resources. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255. Crisis text line, text HOME to 741741. Conclusion. We hope you find this channel informative. For questions, please contact us. Remember, suicide prevention is crucial. If you're struggling, seek help. You're not alone.